Oracle and social. Honestly speaking, this is not, a year ago, two words that I would have put close together. I'm not sure I meant to say that, given that I work for the organization. But Oracle is quite new in social. But in reality, given the acquisitions, the 4 acquisitions that it's just announced, one of which I came from, Vitru, it's now quite strong. What you may not know also is of the 22,500 people that work in Oracle, many of them work in France, and many of them, including all of the executive leadership and my boss, are all here in Paris. So many people say to me, Oracle, that's big, that's American, that's not social. Now you know they're wrong. It's French, and it's very social. So over the next few moments, I'm just going to share with you nothing else about the company that I work for, but about the companies that we work for. Some of the lessons, some of the experiences that we've had as a business around Europe and around the world of what makes people successful socially. Before I do that, I'd like to highlight some of the stats that I hear from our customers are repeatedly those that they use with their executives to help them justify the investment as a business that they're making. I won't go through all of these, but I think what's interesting is we know through mobile, we know through the internet, the adoption of social is increasing and has increased exponentially. But we have to remind ourselves that really today is new. It was 2007 that it was 5% of the time that people spent online was spent socially. Now, according to the Altimeter Group, it's now 20% of the time that people spend online. And people connect with their family first, they connect with their friends, but then they connect with brands. Brands are brands that they're passionate about. And it's those brands that, like with their friends, with our friends, it's the brands that we trust. So the opportunity is large. We've heard numbers in the last week of over 1 billion on Facebook alone, and we've heard other numbers today of close to that again, if you put just a handful of the other smaller networks together. But also on the flip side, if things go wrong, we can see there, if they go wrong in a customer service, fans can use this opportunity very quickly to vent their anger. So it's a big opportunity if you have a relationship. Like every relationship, it's based on trust. So how do you make sure that you don't jeopardize that relationship of trust? The first of the lessons that I have seen learned repeatedly is the word that we've heard earlier this afternoon, earlier today, is all about engagement. It's all about the content. The content is king, I saw in one of the presentations. I think some people, when they first started in social, or when they first start in social, they treat social just like any other marketing channel, like a means to broadcast. They count the number of fans, they count maybe even the number of social pages. I know many of our clients, not big brands, have hundreds of social presences that they're trying to manage. But good brands, they treat it as a two-way conversation. They focus on the quality of the content. And it's that content and how they respond to the natural sharing and human interaction with that content, which is what enables them to turn those large numbers of fans into the broadcast medium, into the ambassadors for that brand message. So Pernod Ricard is one of the clients that we have as a business that we think do this particularly well. So if your English permits it, that top paragraph will have told you that not about the new product release or what they're concerned about, and not to worry about what's being said in the press about the brand. It will have told you about the quality and the art that goes into making barrels, coopering, it's called. And then you'll see the response, the third one down here, is a very human, a very real response. So if lesson number 1 is engagement, then how can you make that even better? Then listen. I think if I look back in my life, why have I fallen in love with the woman that I married? What do I enjoy about my greatest friends and family members? It's their ability to listen. And social is no different to that. Great listeners are great friends. And as a brand, you have an amazing opportunity in terms of the data to help understand what your consumers love, what they're passionate about, what they're not passionate about, when are they most passionate, where are they most passionate. And then you can clearly leverage that to your advantage and retarget and optimize that experience. One way of making an experience even more personal is to think not only in terms of what's a priority for your brand globally, of which I mean across the whole of the region in which you operate, but also locally. So I've borrowed this slide because I think it happens to be particularly good from a company, an agency called We Are Social. And I'm not going to go and read through all of these details, but there is an argument in every brand that we work in where the local brand owners will pull us aside and say, look, we want control. We know how to get engagement. And then the guys who run the global business say, look, don't listen to these guys. We need visibility. We need to see that this is being done correctly and consistently. The reality is, of course, that you can torture the numbers and the data to show you anything you want. The best engagement, as Starbucks will tell you on any individual country page, might come from, say, Holland. But actually, if you look at the sheer scale of the global page, in terms of engagement, it wipes it off the map in terms of total actions and shares created. There's also legislative issues. Here in France, you have something called Evin law. For those of you who are not French or perhaps don't know this particular restriction on advertising in France, but it limits how you market alcohol. So someone like Pernod Ricard, who has close to 100 brands operating in close to 200 different markets around the world, then you need to be really cognizant of how to do that under the restraints of the law, but in support of the brand ambitions. One company that does that particularly well, as I mentioned already, is Pernod Ricard. So what Ricard does well is they manage to balance that need for global control and visibility with local activity and engagement. They use a standard set of metrics, an ability to control, kind of compare, oranges with oranges between different brands in the same region or different regions of the same brand. What messages are working? What's resonating best and when? Also, this way that they've managed to encapsulate the balance gives them an ability to kind of co-own the pages, co-own the content, and it's that co-ownership that I think if you talk to Jeremy Moritz, by the way, from Pernod Ricard, who has just left, but he's back tomorrow, and if you go to the Oracle stand, you can ask for Jeremy, and he'll happily talk about his experience. But it's that co-ownership, he says, that has created that sort of, helped inspire some of their best work, whether that be the posts or the content on the tabs. And it's but it's little things like the restrictions that help prevent the accidental Turkish posting to the German wall, which are almost as valuable. And it's the ability where maybe the economics don't permit a local marketing team. It's the ability to, from a global basis, to message and do your best in that local market from a central position. It's like a two-way advantage if you do it well. If I was going to do a summary slide, then this is probably it. So if you want to take a shot of this one, you're very welcome to do so, although the whole set of slides I think is going to be available. But The point is that people trust people and they connect to people, their family, their friends, and they connect to brands, and it's brands they trust. So if you're going to support that fragile relationship, tell stories, inspire them with an experience across mobile, across channel, across social networks that makes them want to come back for more, but listen to them and don't treat this as a one-night stand. This is a real relationship. Those of our clients that do this well don't talk to their fans when they have a fire to put out or when they're marketing a new product. They talk to them in an ongoing and engaging manner. And social, above all else, I think, for the first time, gives you an opportunity. Instead of one to many, it gives you an answer to a one to few. It's a very personal thing. So the last point that I want to make is that people, brands, companies that we work with are still experimenting on how to resource this and how to fund the advertising, how to fund the people, the investment required to be successful in social. If you were to talk to Amex in this room today, they'll tell you that their number one objective with social is service. If you talk to other brands, it'll be recruitment. I was interviewing for a research piece recently, one of our clients from Dell, the technology business. And they said that when they look for their next community manager, it's going to be not about marketing. They're going to take someone probably from corporate comms who maybe has a customer care or a retail background. Sure, they need to know the marketing roadmap inside and out. And of course, we're all about sales. So whilst no one's quite sure how to fund this, community management appears to be moving to a sort of central position in the business. But what people are sure of is that no, this is no longer just about marketing. Thank you.
Et le temps presse visiblement sur cette table ronde. Alors une petite réaction très rapide, Damien, à ce que vient justement de définir Richard. Richard was talking about engagement a lot, and I want to have your perspective from Facebook about what's engagement when it comes to Facebook through friends, users and consumers.
Oui, bien sûr. La première chose que je voudrais remarquer, c'est que ce qui me fait très plaisir. Oui, je vais répondre en français. La première chose qui me fait très plaisir, c'est de voir que beaucoup de marques sont passées de la phase du recrutement de fans à celle de l'engagement. Donc ça, c'est une très très bonne nouvelle. En termes de best practice pour l'engagement, je voudrais en citer quelques best practices. Je pense que la priorité et l'enjeu essentiel pour les marques aujourd'hui, c'est d'être présent et de se focaliser dans le flux d'actualité, dans le newsfeed. C'est vraiment là que ça se passe aujourd'hui. C'est ce qu'il y a de plus important pour une marque aujourd'hui sur Facebook. Pendant trop longtemps, les marques se sont concentrées sur leur page, où finalement les utilisateurs vont très peu, sur des applications. Voilà. Mais je pense qu'aujourd'hui, le vrai enjeu, c'est le newsfeed, et effectivement, le contenu est clé. Une deuxième pratique intéressante, je pense et je crois que c'est le directeur marketing de Nestlé qui en parlait tout à l'heure, c'est vraiment de combiner le paid, le own et le earn. Les marques qui sont les plus efficaces, on l'a vu par exemple avec Ben & Jerry's à l'instant, c'est celles qui arrivent à vraiment combiner l'ensemble de ces leviers. Voilà. Et un exemple que je trouve assez intéressant, c'est que aujourd'hui, de plus en plus de community managers travaillent main dans la main avec les personnes qui s'occupent du média et sont en mesure d'identifier les posts les plus importants, les posts qui génèrent le plus d'engagement, et ensuite de les amplifier, de les relayer. Et en fait, ça crée un cercle vertueux qui, au final, génère plus d'engagement. Et après, il y a énormément de petites techniques pour améliorer l'engagement. Je ne vais pas toutes les passer ici, mais voilà, il y a beaucoup de choses à faire en termes à l'heure à laquelle vous publiez, également le jour, quel type de contenu. On sait que les photos fonctionnent très très bien. Donc il y a beaucoup de petites techniques à appliquer pour générer un bon engagement sur Facebook.
Let's go back to mobile for a quick second, if you may. Richard, you mentioned that content is king, and then mobile will be prince in that way. On a parfois eu l'impression que Facebook sous-estimait cette question et cette ampleur du mobile et surtout de la relation entre l'utilisation mobile et ce que pouvaient en faire les marques. Damien, vous venez de nous proposer une version bêta d'une fonctionnalité qui sera bientôt disponible sur mobile. Est-ce qu'il faut s'attendre à autre chose? Est-ce que Facebook est suffisamment armé pour aller sur le mobile? Is Facebook sufficiently armed to go on mobile?
Ah oui, je suis très confiant là-dessus. Le mobile aujourd'hui, c'est pour Facebook, pour la stratégie de Facebook, c'est essentiel et central. Voilà, en quelques mois, on a lancé un App Center, une nouvelle application iPhone, une nouvelle application Android, un format publicitaire. Moi, je pense que le mobile pour Facebook, c'est une énorme opportunité sur 3 points. Le premier qui est l'audience et la croissance, puisque aujourd'hui, une grande partie de nos utilisateurs vont être recrutés via le mobile, donc c'est une très belle opportunité pour nous. En termes d'engagement, ce qu'on constate, c'est que les utilisateurs de Facebook mobile sont beaucoup plus engagés. Ils se connectent plus souvent, ils se connectent plus longtemps, donc encore une fois, une belle opportunité pour nous. Et le dernier point sur la monétisation, c'est qu'on s'est attaqué à ce chantier il y a quelques mois maintenant et qu'on génère aujourd'hui un revenu très significatif sur le mobile et ce n'est que le début.
Richard?
I agree with Damien here and on his previous point about engagement. What we're seeing is that our clients are designing perhaps first for mobile and social over other channels. And I think it's our job, and I think it's Facebook jobs to take away the complexity and to allow our customers to carry on the art of building a brand.
Just a very final question so that we're not that much over time. The question is more about basically the vision of Mark Zuckerberg of what Facebook going to be while monetizing. Il y a quelques jours, Mark Zuckerberg rappelait que la prochaine étape pour Facebook, c'est peut-être pas d'acquérir son 3e milliard de fans, mais bien de réussir à, si j'ose dire, manager ce trésor de guerre et savoir accompagner les grandes entreprises pour qu'elles puissent justement utiliser de façon intelligente ces informations-là. Là, ce qui est très intéressant, c'est qu'en une phrase, on a tout. On a d'abord les prochaines cibles et les prochains territoires de monétisation de Facebook, mais on a surtout la grande faille et la grande question qu'on vous pose à chaque fois, Damien, c'est de savoir si votre force, c'est pas également votre faiblesse. Comment est-ce que vous assurez aujourd'hui aux marques que les informations privées sur vos membres ne seront pas utilisées de façon abusive, que notamment cette relation de confiance dont Richard parlait tout à l'heure sera toujours respectée?
Pour être très clair, la confiance des utilisateurs et le respect de la vie privée est stratégique et essentiel pour nous, donc on fait très attention à ça. Pour répondre à la question, je pense qu'il y a différentes choses. La première chose, c'est ce que je voudrais être très clair par rapport à l'audience, c'est que Facebook ne transmet aucune donnée à des tiers et ne vend pas des données à des tiers. C'est très clair. Ce qu'on permet aujourd'hui aux marques, c'est de cibler de manière anonyme et agrégée des utilisateurs selon certains critères, l'âge, le sexe, etc. Donc c'est des données qui sont complètement anonymisées, agrégées, et on ne les vend pas, on ne les transfère pas à des tiers. La deuxième chose, c'est que je pense qu'on a un contrat moral avec nos utilisateurs. Ils utilisent un service gratuit qu'ils apprécient. Par contre, en échange, ils acceptent de recevoir de la publicité qui, en plus, il se trouve, est plutôt pertinente. En tout cas, on fait le maximum pour qu'elle le soit, et assez peu intrusive par rapport à d'autres formats qu'on peut voir sur le web. Et la dernière chose, je pense, sur ce point-là, des données privées, c'est qu'on travaille en étroite collaboration avec des régulateurs à travers le monde et l'Europe. Et aujourd'hui, ils sont satisfaits de nos pratiques. Et donc, on continuera à échanger avec eux et à leur faire de la pédagogie sur nos produits. Mais non, je suis plutôt totalement confiant. C'est pour terminer sur ce que vous disiez. Je pense que la vision de Mark Zuckerberg, c'était plutôt de dire que pendant 8 ans, Facebook a permis de connecter 1 milliard de personnes, et lui, ce qu'il attend avec impatience, c'est de voir qu'est-ce qu'on va pouvoir faire de ce milliard de personnes connectées. Quelles industries on va pouvoir transformer. L'exemple de la musique avec Deezer ou Spotify est un bon exemple. Le jeu avec des sociétés comme Zynga, Electronic Arts, qui créent vraiment des nouveaux business models basés sur Facebook. Donc je pense qu'il a vraiment hâte de voir quelles sont les prochaines industries qui vont être révolutionnées par Facebook. Et je pense que par exemple le e-commerce et le commerce en général offre une très belle opportunité sur ce point-là.
Just a very
Marjorie,
quick word
on va-
and conclusive
un mot de
word with
conclusion.
you, Richard, about the fact that how can Facebook jeopardize the trust they put in place with their members and with brands?
Ce sera le mot de
Did
conclusion.
you say, how can they jeopardize
How they
that?
can't.
They
How can they
can't.
prevent jeopardizing this trust?
Actually, I think if I understood what Damien was saying correctly, it's we're providing the tools and the opportunity. It's ultimately down to the brands themselves to manage the data and make sure that it is supportive of the various laws in the regions. So we will do it as a partnership with Facebook, with the brands. We have to.
Merci à tous.
Merci Marjorie, merci messieurs.